Chosen one. Something inside you has begun to stir, something you can't quite name, but you feel it like a current under your ribs. The nights have become heavier, haven't they? The noise of the world no longer satisfies you, and what used to bring comfort now feels hollow. That is not confusion, that is awakening. Heaven has placed a hand on your heart and whispered, "It's time." You are feeling the holy unrest, the kind that doesn't let you settle, the kind that breaks patterns and interrupts comfort. God is calling you out from among the ordinary. You were never meant to blend in. There's a reason you feel misunderstood, distant, even different. It is not rejection, it's separation. Heaven is preparing you for what the world cannot comprehend. Every great move of destiny begins with a divine disturbance. You begin to lose peace with what is beneath your purpose. You try to fit into old places, but something in your spirit protests. That protest is not rebellion, it's revelation. God is saying, "I am stirring your waters because something holy is about to emerge." Listen carefully when the call of God begins to echo within. The enemy tries to convince you that you're losing control, but in truth, you are finding your true center. This stirring isn't chaos, it's creation. The same spirit that hovered over the formless waters in Genesis now hovers over you, shaping purpose out of your confusion. You may look around and see others at ease, content with mediocrity, but you cannot. You've seen too much, felt too deeply. You've outgrown the shallow. That's why lately, even silence feels sacred, because in it you sense the weight of eternity pressing upon your chest. Chosen one. This stirring is your divine signal. Heaven is announcing, prepare the vessel, for the oil is coming. The shaking you feel is not punishment, it is proof of calling. God shakes what is unstable so that only what is unshakable remains. Every closed door, every unanswered prayer, every delay, it's not denial, it's divine choreography. Remember, Moses didn't hear the call while surrounded by comfort. He heard it in isolation, before a burning bush in the desert. The heat of discomfort often carries the flame of destiny. The very place that feels barren is about to bloom. You are standing in the threshold between what was and what will be. Do not mistake divine stirring for disarray. It is a heavenly awakening disguised as restlessness. You might not yet know where you're going, but you can no longer stay where you are. That tension is sacred. It's your spirit breaking the boundaries of the old wineskin to make room for new glory. Heaven has been watching you quietly through every tear, every hidden prayer. And now, the Father says, "I am birthing something in you that the world has not seen." You are not late. You are right on time. Every detour was divine design. Every heartbreak was holy instruction. What broke you is now about to bless you. The enemy knows this moment, too. That's why confusion increases when calling approaches. The louder the storm, the closer the shore. Don't you see it? The same winds that try to tear you apart are the winds that will carry you into destiny. Stop doubting the divine process. God is not punishing you, He is positioning you. The breaking is only the sound of transformation. You are not being destroyed, you are being refined. When you feel like you're falling apart, remember heaven rebuilds on holy ruins. Listen to me. Chosen one, this message found you for a reason. Heaven has paused time for you right now. You're not scrolling by chance, you're being summoned. The Spirit is calling your name, saying, Rise. The stirring within you is the first sign that I am near. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of John, chapter 16, verse 13, when the Spirit of truth comes, he will guide you into all truth and reveal things. Hold on to this, for it is your confirmation. You have been chosen for a purpose that cannot be denied. Every moment of pain was prophecy in disguise. The very things that once broke you will one day become the foundation of your ministry. So now, take a breath. Let this truth sink into your bones. You are not behind. You are being aligned. This stirring, this divine unease, is heaven's way of saying your time is near. If this word resonates in your spirit, let heaven see your agreement. Like, share, and comment to declare that you have heard the call. And if you have not yet subscribed, do it now, because every message ahead will build upon this awakening. Comment below the number 777 as a prophetic act, declaring, Lord, I receive the stirring within as a sign of my calling. Chosen one, you've started to notice it, haven't you? The separation, the gentle yet undeniable distance forming between you and what once felt like home. It's not that you've become cold, it's that you've outgrown what no longer carries your spirit. The people you once laughed with, the spaces that once felt familiar, the rhythms that once defined you, all of it seems to fade in tone. Like an old song you can't dance to anymore. Do not grieve this separation, even though it hurts. God is not punishing you. He is protecting what He's planting inside of you. When a seed begins to sprout, it must break free from the soil that once held it. What once nurtured now becomes too tight to contain. You are that seed pressing against the limits of yesterday. Heaven is stretching your roots into deeper ground. This is what many don't understand. Divine calling often begins with divine disconnection. You begin to feel unseen, unheard, misunderstood. The very people who once celebrated you now seem to question you. But this is not rejection, it is redirection. God is removing distractions, not relationships. Those who are not meant to walk into your next chapter cannot stay in your current one. So, when the texts stop coming, when the conversations fade, when the familiar circles grow silent, don't chase what God has released. You are being hidden, not forgotten. The cocoon always feels like confinement, but it is where transformation happens. You are being separated to be sanctified. Heaven often hides its chosen ones before revealing them. Think of David, anointed in a field, yet sent back to tend sheep. Think of Joseph, given dreams of greatness, yet thrown into a pit. Think of Jesus himself, 30 years of silence before 3 years of glory. The waiting, the separation, the stillness, it's all part of divine design. It hurts because you care. You miss what was. You wonder why certain hearts turned cold. But God whispers, you cannot stay in a place I have already left. He is moving you forward. And that movement requires distance. Every separation in your life right now is prophetic proof that you are being prepared. Don't confuse solitude with abandonment. Solitude is the sacred space where revelation is born. It is in the quiet that God teaches you how to hear His voice without the noise of others. This is the wilderness where dependence replaces distraction. The same Spirit that drove Jesus into the wilderness is now guiding you there, not to punish, but to purify. You are learning the language of silence. You are learning to walk by faith and not by sight. Every time you feel alone, heaven leans closer. Every time you cry in the dark, angels are gathering around you, strengthening what the world tried to weaken. This is why the separation must happen before elevation. The higher God takes you, the smaller your circle becomes. You are being prepared for intimacy, not popularity. God does not crown you in crowds, He crowns you in secret. And right now, you are in that holy process. The stripping, the pruning, the sacred solitude where heaven shapes warriors and prophets. You will not stay hidden forever, but you must remain still until the right moment. Don't rush what God is refining. It is painful, yes, but necessary, because not everyone can handle the weight of your calling. Some were sent to your past but cannot survive your promise. God, in His mercy, separates you before success so that when it comes, your heart remains pure. One day, you will look back and thank Him for the distance. You will realize that if He hadn't pulled certain things away, you would have missed the very thing He was sending toward you. The silence of now is the safeguard of what's coming next. So, hold steady. Chosen one. This loneliness is not emptiness, it's preparation. Heaven is rearranging the pieces around you so that when it's time to rise, nothing will hinder your flight. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Amos. Chapter 3, verse 3. Can two walk together, except they be agreed? Those words are truth wrapped in simplicity. Alignment determines assignment. Not everyone can walk with you where God is taking you, because not everyone carries the same agreement with heaven that you do. The separation is not personal, it's prophetic. When God calls you higher, He cuts the ropes that tie you to the familiar. You cannot carry yesterday's weight into tomorrow's wings. Trust the process. The pruning of now ensures the power of later. You are not being left behind, you are being lifted apart. You are being set apart for glory, chosen for something sacred, and heaven is clearing the stage for your unveiling. So don't resist the distance, embrace it as divine evidence. Your calling is not only about what you will do, it's also about who you must become. And sometimes, becoming requires breaking away. Chosen one, do you feel it? The ground beneath your feet beginning to tremble, the breaking of the old. This is the season where what once stood strong begins to fall apart. The plans you made, the security you trusted, the structures that held you, they are shaking. And though it feels terrifying, this breaking is not the end. It is the beginning of something divine. God is dismantling the systems that cannot sustain your destiny. He is tearing down the scaffolding of your former self so that He can build something eternal upon your spirit. The breaking feels like loss, but in heaven's language, it means transformation. Everything that once defined you, your comfort zones, your routines, even your reputation is being stripped away to reveal the purity of your purpose. You may look around and think, why is everything collapsing? But listen carefully when God breaks. He never breaks without rebuilding. He never takes without the intention to give. He breaks to bless, removes to restore, and empties to fill. The crumbling around you is not destruction, it's divine reconstruction. Do not try to rescue what heaven is removing. Some doors are closing because they can no longer hold the weight of your anointing. Some relationships are fading because they were built for a version of you that no longer exists. God is not being cruel, He is being careful. He knows that if you cling to what's breaking, it will wound you when it falls. Beloved, the breaking is mercy in disguise. When the potter begins again with the clay, he crushes what was misshapen, not to discard it, but to remake it into something flawless. Your life right now may look like scattered pieces, but in God's hands, those pieces are being molded into perfection. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 34, verse 18, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." Those words are a balm to every soul in the fire. They tell you that God does not stand far off in your pain. He moves closer when your heart cracks open. The breaking does not drive him away, it draws him in. The moment you fall apart is the moment heaven leans near. Chosen one, your tears are not wasted. Every tear is a seed, and every seed sown in sorrow will rise in strength. What feels like an ending is often heaven's way of saying, "I'm beginning again." You are being reshaped for revelation. Sometimes God allows the collapse because he knows you've built your identity around what was never meant to last. And though the ruins seem unbearable now, soon they will become the foundation of your testimony. You will say, "If it hadn't broken, I would have never become who I am now." When the Israelites left Egypt, they had to watch the Red Sea part through chaos before they could walk in freedom. When the temple veil tore in two, what looked like tragedy became the doorway to redemption. Breaking precedes breakthrough. So, if you feel like everything around you is falling apart, don't panic, pay attention. This is not chaos, it's calibration. God is aligning your heart with his purpose, teaching you to rely not on your own understanding, but on his voice alone. Your dreams may be cracking, your plans collapsing, your heart aching, but heaven is whispering, "Be still. I am building something you cannot yet see." Every loss is leading to life. Every ending carries the echo of a new beginning. Right now, there's a holy exchange taking place. The ashes of your former season are becoming the soil of your next harvest. You are learning to praise even when everything feels like pain. Because deep down, your spirit knows this truth. The breaking of the old is the birth of the new. So, take this moment and breathe. Don't run from the shaking, stand in it. Let the walls fall. Let the weight lift. What God is building will not resemble what was lost. It will exceed it in glory. And when you feel overwhelmed, whisper this truth: I am not being undone, I am being remade. Heaven hears you. Angels record every word. The potter's hands are steady, and his plans are perfect. Now, if this word speaks into your current storm, comment below, "I rise again." Let it be your declaration, your public agreement with heaven that what broke you will not bury you. Say it as prophecy over your life, because every broken piece is about to shine with purpose. Chosen one, the fire has been fierce lately, hasn't it? It feels like everything in your life is being tested at once: your patience, your faith, your endurance, even your identity. What once came easily now demands effort. What once felt light now weighs heavy. You keep wondering, why is it so hard all of a sudden? This, beloved, is the refining fire. It is not punishment, it is preparation. The gold in you cannot shine without the flame. Every true chosen one must pass through it. Heaven allows the heat not to destroy you, but to prove you. The impurities of fear, pride, doubt, and self-reliance rise to the surface. And God removes them so that only His reflection remains. It is in this stage that you begin to realize God is not interested in mere comfort. He is after character. He is shaping something eternal in you. You prayed for anointing, but anointing is not oil until the olives are crushed. You prayed for strength, but strength is not born in ease. It's birthed in endurance. You asked for purpose, and heaven answered with pressure. Yes, pressure, the sacred tool of transformation. The same heat that melts wax hardens clay. The fire that consumes the false polishes the real. That's why, even though it burns, it blesses. The furnace is not your enemy, it's your forge. Do not resist the fire. Let it do its work. For it is written that trials come to test the genuineness of your faith, to prove that what you carry is not counterfeit but consecrated. You may not understand it now, but you will. Every painful test is heaven's endorsement that you are ready for more. Think of the prophets who came before you. They too were purified by flame. Joseph endured betrayal before elevation. Daniel was thrown into the lion's den before revelation. The 3 Hebrew boys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, walked through a furnace so hot that it should have consumed them. Yet when the king looked in, he saw a 4th figure walking beside them, radiant and untouchable. That's what happens when the chosen ones are refined. They do not burn. They become brighter, and so will you. According to what is revealed in the first letter of Peter, chapter 1, verse 7, these trials will show that your faith is genuine. It is being tested as fire tests and purifies gold, though your faith is far more precious than mere gold. Hold that truth close. The fire is not sent to expose your weakness, it is sent to reveal your worth. God would not allow you to face this intensity if there were not something priceless inside of you. The enemy doesn't attack empty vessels, he targets those filled with destiny. This refining season feels lonely because few can understand it. Others may look at your life and assume you're struggling, but heaven sees something different. Heaven sees a warrior being refined, a vessel being cleansed, a soul being prepared for glory. The fire is personal because your assignment is specific. You may find yourself praying, God, take it away. But often, the better prayer is, God, take me through it. Because on the other side of this trial, you will not just survive, you will shine. Fire doesn't destroy gold, it defines it. Every tear you've cried in this season is liquid testimony. Each one says, I am still here. I will not give up. And heaven records them all. There is coming a day when the same fire that tested you will testify of you. People will look at your peace, your strength, your glow, and they'll say, you've been through something holy. You might not recognize yourself when this season ends, and that's the point. The fire removes who you were so that your true identity can emerge. Your faith will be purer, your heart softer, your vision clearer. You will carry wisdom that cannot be taught, only forged. Do not mistake divine testing for abandonment. The silence you feel is not absence, it's attention. The refiner never leaves the furnace while the gold is inside. He watches closely, adjusting the heat with precision. The moment the gold reflects his face, he knows it's ready. So, if you feel surrounded by flames, don't panic, look again. The same one who stood with the 3 Hebrew boys stands with you now. You are not alone in the fire. you are accompanied by the fourth man, the living word. Every breath you take inside this heat is a declaration of faith that hell cannot extinguish. When it feels unbearable, remember this: you are not being consumed. You are being clarified. The things that cannot stay, fear, doubt, shame, are burning away. And when the smoke clears, you will emerge refined, resilient, radiant. This season will not last forever. Fire always fades once its purpose is complete. Soon you'll step out with the shine of one who's been through it and come out unbroken. Your testimony will carry weight because your faith has been tested. And wherever you go next, the fragrance of refinement will follow you, evidence that you have walked through the flames and come out carrying glory. Chosen one, do not curse the fire. Bless it, because it made you chosen one. You've noticed it, the silence. The heavens that once felt open now feel sealed. The prayers that used to bring immediate peace now seem to vanish into air. You call out, but there's no echo. You look for signs, but everything looks still. It's as though heaven itself is quiet, watching. Don't be afraid of this silence. It is not abandonment, it is instruction. When God stops speaking loudly, He is teaching you to hear softly. He is training your spirit to discern whispers, not shouts. The Father has not left you. He has simply moved the classroom from sound to stillness. There is a sacred mystery in silence. It's like a seed buried underground, nothing visible, yet everything alive. You may not see growth right now, but life is happening beneath the surface. God is developing the unseen roots of faith that will sustain the weight of your future fruit. Sometimes, silence is the highest form of trust. When a teacher stops talking during the test, it's not because the teacher has gone, it's because the lesson is already inside you. Heaven's silence is not punishment, it's a vote of confidence that you have learned enough to stand firm until the next word comes. In this quiet, you begin to learn the language of stillness, the subtle way God speaks through moments, not just messages, through the kindness of a stranger, the timing of a song, the way your heart feels suddenly calm even when nothing has changed. The whisper becomes the word, and you start realizing He never stopped speaking, He just changed His tone. It was proclaimed in the first book of Kings, chapter 19, verse 12. And after the earthquake came a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire came a gentle whisper. There it is, the secret of divine silence. God does not always appear in the noise of power, but often in the gentleness of presence. He is in the pause, in the breath, in the quiet conviction that says, I am here. Even now, chosen one. Silence is not the absence of God, it's the invitation to intimacy. When the world goes quiet, heaven gets closer. You are being drawn deeper, not distanced. This is the sacred hush before revelation, the calm before the commission. You might feel forgotten, but you're being fortified. This quiet is strengthening your discernment. You are learning to feel what others have to hear. Soon, you'll walk into rooms and sense divine movement without a single word being spoken. That's maturity. That's the mark of one who has learned to walk by faith and not by noise. Let this image live in you. A lighthouse doesn't shout in storms, it stands in silence, radiating steady light for the lost to see. That's what God is shaping you into, a still light in a world of chaos. You are becoming the calm in the storm, the steady in the shaking, the whisper in the wind. So, do not despise the silence. Wrap yourself in it. Pray not for more noise, but for sharper hearing. Learn to love the pauses, for in them you'll find presence. And if this message touches you, if you can feel these words filling the quiet corners of your heart, then let this be your moment to join the mission of light. When you like or share this message, you're not just helping an algorithm, you're helping heaven reach another heart that feels forgotten in their silence. Every click, every share, every small act of connection becomes a ripple that reaches someone else standing where you once stood. If you found strength here, consider subscribing, not as a formality, but as an act of faith to stay connected to a stream of words that breathe life into your spirit. Think of it as lighting a candle each time you return, joining a growing family of burning lights across the world. And if you feel led, if something in you stirs with gratitude and you wish to pour back into the well that's been watering your soul, then give, not out of pressure, but as a seed. Your support keeps this fire burning, keeps these messages flowing freely to the broken, the waiting, the chosen. Every gift, no matter how small, becomes an act of partnership with heaven's work. You are not buying blessing, you are building bridges. You are fueling the flow of hope that travels far beyond screens, far beyond borders. Chosen one, this silence is holy ground. Don't rush through it. Listen. Between every heartbeat, He's speaking. Between every pause, He's present. Let this season teach you how to walk by sensing, how to trust without seeing, and how to hear without words. And when He finally speaks again, you'll realize He never really stopped. He was teaching you how to hear Him everywhere. Chosen one, can you feel it? The awakening. The veil that once covered your sight is lifting, and suddenly you begin to notice things that were always there but hidden. Coincidences no longer feel like chance, they start to look like choreography. Numbers repeat. Dreams become vivid. People cross your path at the exact moment you need them. It's as if heaven itself has begun to weave patterns around you, whispering, "Pay attention, your purpose is calling." This is the awakening of divine purpose. You are no longer asleep in the rhythm of routine. You are sensing alignment. Like a compass suddenly magnetized toward destiny. The things that used to drain you now disgust you. The things that once seemed small now sparkle with significance. You begin to feel alive again, not just breathing, but becoming. It starts quietly. A conversation that stirs something deep. A dream that feels too vivid to ignore. A phrase from scripture that burns in your heart for days. You realize these are not random, they're reminders. Heaven is speaking through subtle signs, confirming that your spirit is waking up to its true assignment. This awakening can feel overwhelming. You begin to see beyond the surface of things, beyond faces into motives, beyond pain into purpose. You can sense energy shifts when you enter a room. You discern the unseen currents of good and evil. And you finally understand your sensitivity is not weakness, it's weaponry. Chosen one, you were born for this. You carry divine radar. That's why you could never stay comfortable in compromise. Your spirit was built for clarity. Heaven has chosen this exact time to open your spiritual eyes because the world needs what you carry. You're not imagining it when you feel your emotions intensify. You're not too much. You're being tuned. The same way a musician tightens strings to create perfect pitch, heaven is adjusting you to the frequency of calling. It feels like pressure because alignment always does. But when the tension settles, your life will begin to sound like purpose, pure, resonant, unmistakable. This awakening is also awakening warfare. The closer you move toward light, the more darkness reacts. That's why lately your battles have intensified. The enemy sees what's coming before you do. But take heart, because your awareness is your armor. What once would have blindsided you now only confirms your direction. Every attack becomes a signpost that you're walking right, as was spoken in the sacred texts of old. In the book of Ephesians, chapter 5, verse 14, "Awake, O sleeper, and arise from the dead, and Christ shall give you light." There it is, the divine declaration over you. Awake, not just physically, but spiritually. To wake is to see differently, to understand that your life was never random. It was written, it was orchestrated. You are stepping into scenes heaven scripted long before you arrived. When this awakening begins, you might feel the urge to isolate. That's normal. Your spirit is adjusting to new frequencies. Old conversations start to feel empty, shallow, or even draining. Don't resist this. It's a sign that your spirit is outgrowing what no longer nourishes you. In time, new voices will appear, kindred souls who understand your language of light. Your dreams will begin to speak. You'll start remembering fragments that feel like messages. Pay attention. Write them down. Heaven often reveals in layers. What feels symbolic today may become instruction tomorrow. And those little nudges in your heart, the sudden sense to call someone, pray for someone, or pause before a decision, those are not coincidences. That is the Holy Spirit awakening your discernment. Trust it. Obey it. The more you respond, the clearer it becomes. Chosen one. This awakening will change how you walk, talk, and even think. You'll notice divine patterns repeating around you because heaven teaches by repetition. Numbers, songs, phrases, moments. They're not random. They're reminders that you're being guided. And today, right here, this message is one of those reminders. You didn't stumble here by curiosity. You were called here by coordination. Heaven scheduled this moment to confirm your awakening. Pause and reflect. Everything that once confused you now begins to make sense. Every heartbreak had purpose. Every closed door was redirection. Every delay was divine timing in disguise. You are stepping into the clarity of why it all had to happen the way it did. So don't rush this awakening. Let it unfold like dawn, slowly, beautifully, steadily. Each moment reveals another color of destiny until you're standing in full light. If this word resonates in your spirit, it's not by accident. It's confirmation. Heaven is calling you to acknowledge it right now. Comment the number 444 below. 4 for foundation, 4 for divine order, 4 for alignment. Declare it as a prophetic act. My eyes are open. My heart is ready. And I step fully into my calling. You are not waking up randomly. You are being resurrected into purpose. And from this moment on, nothing ordinary will ever fit you again. Chosen one. You've felt the shift, haven't you? The moment you began to awaken. Opposition arose. The atmosphere changed. Things that once came easily now feel like they're fought for. You wake up feeling the weight of invisible warfare pressing against your spirit. You can sense the resistance in the air, the heaviness, the tension, the unexplainable fatigue that tries to steal your peace. This is the war in the spirit. It's not imagination, it's illumination. When light rises, darkness responds. The enemy recognizes your awakening before many around you do. He sees your potential, your growing authority, your increasing awareness, and he trembles. Because every step you take toward obedience weakens his hold over the world around you. Spiritual warfare doesn't always come as chaos. Sometimes it comes as distraction. The enemy rarely attacks where you're strong. He attacks where you're uncertain. He whispers doubts into the corners of your mind, hoping to make you question what God already confirmed. You begin to feel discouraged, disconnected, and drained, wondering if you're losing your strength. But what's really happening is this: your old defenses no longer work because God is teaching you higher strategies. In this season, you must learn to fight differently. This is not a battle of fists, but of faith. You cannot win by panic, you win by posture. The posture of worship, the stance of stillness, the calm authority that comes from knowing who stands beside you. The moment you realize that victory is not achieved but received, fear loses its grip. Understand this, chosen one, when you carry light, darkness takes notice. But remember, light does not negotiate with darkness, it simply shines. And darkness has no choice but to flee. The battle may be intense, but it is not equal. You are not fighting for victory. You are fighting from victory. The outcome was settled before the first arrow was ever fired. The voice of God thundered in the book of Exodus, chapter 14, verse 14. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Let those words anchor you. You are not outnumbered. Heaven's army surrounds you, unseen yet unshakable. The very ground you stand on is occupied by angels assigned to your destiny. You are protected by a covenant that cannot be broken, sealed by blood that cannot be undone. The enemy will try to exhaust you with false urgency. He'll tell you that everything is falling apart. But the truth is, heaven is allowing the shaking to reveal your strength. You are learning that peace is not the absence of battle, it is the presence of confidence. The more the enemy pushes, the deeper you plant your roots. You are not fragile, you are fortified. Spiritual warfare is not just fought in prayer, it is lived in choices. Every time you choose forgiveness over bitterness, truth over comfort, humility over pride, you are winning unseen wars. Every time you refuse to respond in anger, every time you silence fear with faith, every time you rise again after a fall, the kingdom of darkness loses ground. You are learning to recognize the patterns of attack. Notice how distraction always appears when you're close to breakthrough. Notice how weariness hits when revelation approaches. The enemy fears your focus, because your focus unlocks power. That's why your mind has been under siege. But this, too, is your training ground. You are being taught to guard your peace like a soldier guards a sacred gate. You've also noticed spiritual heaviness in your surroundings, arguments breaking out for no reason, sudden discouragements, strange delays. These are not coincidences. They are indicators that your light is disturbing the shadows around you. You are walking into territories where demonic structures have stood for generations, and your mere presence threatens their existence. That's why the warfare feels personal. It's prophetic. But take heart, for you are not unarmed. Your words are weapons. Your worship is warfare. Your obedience is a sword that cuts through lies. Heaven responds to every declaration you make in faith. When you say, "I trust you, Lord," the darkness recoils. When you whisper, "Not my will, but yours," hell loses another foothold. There will be days when you feel weak, when the battle seems endless. In those moments, remember that even your weakness is powerful in the hands of God. He uses the frail things to shame the mighty, the quiet ones to silence storms. You were chosen not because you are flawless, but because you are faithful. This war is not meant to destroy you, it's meant to reveal you. Like a sword drawn from its sheath, you are being unsheathed for divine purpose. The pressure you feel is not punishment, it's activation. You are discovering how to walk with authority, how to speak with power, how to move with precision. Soon, you'll realize that the war was never truly against you. It was against what you're carrying, your voice, your calling, your light. These are threats to every power that profits from darkness. And once you understand that, fear loses its foundation. So, stand firm. Chosen one, you are not losing, you are learning. Every night spent in tears is training. Every moment of warfare is wisdom in disguise. The more intense the fight, the greater the anointing forming within you. Do not run from the battle. Walk through it, clothed in peace, armed with truth, and crowned with endurance. Because soon, this same battlefield will become your platform, and the very demons that tried to silence you will testify. This one cannot be broken. Chosen one. Now that the war has raged and the noise has begun to quiet, you start to feel something different, a weight. Not the weight of worry, but of responsibility. A holy heaviness that presses against your spirit and reminds you that being chosen is not only a calling, it's a burden carried with reverence. This is the weight of the mantle. You've longed for purpose, prayed for calling, sought after destiny, but now that it's here, you realize it's not light. It's glorious. Yes, but heavy. The mantle God has placed on you is not ornamental, it is functional. It's the robe of service, the covering of sacrifice. It is the unseen mark that separates you from comfort so that you can carry the kingdom. Every true mantle comes with weight because it holds responsibility. To carry it, you must learn to walk differently, think differently, even breathe differently. Heaven's mantle does not rest on the proud, it settles on the surrendered. It wraps itself around those who have been broken and reshaped by fire. You are one of them. The refining you endured wasn't random, it was tailoring. God was fitting you for this mantle, shaping your shoulders to carry what others cannot. The same trials that nearly broke you were preparing the structure of your spirit to hold divine authority without collapsing under it. Many admire the anointing, but few understand the cost. The mantle is not glamorous, it is sacred. It's the unseen oil that allows you to stand where others fall, to speak when others stay silent, to endure when others retreat. It doesn't make you better, it makes you accountable. It doesn't elevate ego, it anchors humility. When the prophet Elijah passed his mantle to Elisha, it wasn't a mere gesture, it was a transfer of weight. Elisha would carry not only double power, but double pressure. The mantle meant miracles. Yes, but it also meant sleepless nights, relentless warfare, and the constant call to obedience when comfort would have been easier. And still, Elisha didn't hesitate, because once you've encountered divine purpose, there's no going back to ordinary. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Isaiah. Chapter 61, verse 1. The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because the Lord has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to bind up the broken-hearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives and release from darkness for the prisoners. That's what the mantle means. It's not about recognition, it's about responsibility. You carry this anointing not for yourself, but for others. You've been equipped to speak life into weary souls, to lift those crushed under burdens you once knew well. Every scar on you has become a map for someone else's healing. And yes, it's heavy. There are days when it feels like too much. You'll look at others living freely, untouched by the weight you bear, and you'll wonder why your path must be so narrow. But remember, narrow paths lead to sacred places. Wide roads lead to noise, narrow ones lead to glory. You were never meant for ease, you were meant for eternal impact. The mantle doesn't always make sense. Sometimes it feels like isolation, sometimes like exhaustion. But deep within, your spirit knows this is what you were born for. The weight you feel is proof of your worth. Heaven does not place heavy crowns on unstable heads. Carry it with reverence, not resentment. The mantle doesn't crush you, it teaches you dependence. Each time you feel it press harder, it's heaven's reminder that you are not carrying it alone. The same God who placed it upon you sustains you beneath it. His strength upholds you where your own ends. There will be moments when you'll wish you could lay it down, when the expectations of being chosen feel too demanding, when your humanity aches under the holiness of the call. In those moments, remember Gethsemane. Even Jesus, clothed in divine purpose, felt the weight of his mantle and prayed, "If it be possible, let this cup pass from me." But immediately after, he surrendered, "Not my will, but yours." That is the posture of those who carry heaven's authority. You'll know you're wearing the mantle not by applause, but by endurance. Not by the crowd's response, but by the peace that remains when the crowd leaves. Your words will begin to carry weight. Your presence will shift atmospheres. Your prayers will pierce through realms, not because of who you are, but because of what you carry. The mantle marks you. You'll find that some people sense it before you speak. They'll either draw near because they're hungry for the light, or distance themselves because it exposes what's hidden. Don't take either reaction personally. The mantle reveals hearts. Chosen one, walk gently with what you've been given. Do not flaunt it, guard it. Do not compare it, cultivate it. Every mantle carries a unique fragrance, a combination of your story, your scars, and your surrender. Heaven chose this specific one for you because only your shoulders could bear it. And though it may feel heavy now, remember this truth: the greater the weight, the greater the glory. Each step you take under its pressure is shaping you into the vessel heaven designed. You are not crushed by this calling, you are being crowned by it. Chosen one. After the weight of the mantle settles upon you, heaven begins to speak again, but this time through confirmation. You start noticing that what was once vague suddenly feels verified. Words you heard in prayer begin to echo in unexpected places. A stranger says something that feels like a divine echo. A verse you've read 100 times suddenly glows with new meaning. These are not coincidences, they are confirmations. When God wants to make sure you understand His direction, He repeats Himself through multiple channels. The same message will arrive in different forms: a sermon, a song lyric, a random post, even the quiet pull in your spirit when you're about to make a choice. Confirmation is heaven's way of saying, "Yes, you heard me right." At first, it can feel almost surreal. You think, could this really be for me? And the answer, chosen one, is yes. Heaven is too intentional to waste words. Every sign, every nudge, every repeating phrase is part of the pattern. God confirms what He commissions. The key is learning to discern between divine confirmation and distraction. The enemy can imitate signs, but he cannot imitate peace. Divine confirmation always brings alignment and stillness to your spirit. False signs create confusion and urgency. When it's truly from God, it settles your soul instead of stirring your anxiety. The ancient words recorded in the book of Proverbs, chapter 16, verse 9, remind us, humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. You see, confirmation isn't about control, it's about cooperation. God invites you into a partnership where you plan, but He plants. You move, but He maneuvers. The signs along your path are not random. They are the fingerprints of divine coordination, guiding you toward your next season. You'll know you're walking in divine rhythm when even the delays start to make sense. Something that once frustrated you will later reveal itself as divine timing. That job that fell through, that friend who drifted away, that detour you didn't want, all of it fits perfectly into the story once the pattern is revealed. Chosen one. God's confirmations are not given to flatter you, they're sent to fortify you. Because when you begin to move in your calling, resistance will come, doubt will whisper, but in those moments, you will remember the confirmations, and they will anchor your soul. Sometimes, heaven will confirm a word more than once, not because you didn't hear it the first time, but because you need the courage to obey it. Confirmation is God's kindness, saying, "I know you're afraid, but I'm still here." Think back for a moment. How many times has something repeated itself in your life lately? The same number, the same phrase, the same tug in your spirit. These are heaven's breadcrumbs, leading you deeper into obedience. The question isn't whether God is speaking, the question is whether you are noticing. As your discernment sharpens, you'll start to realize that nothing in your life is wasted. Even the smallest moments carry messages. The person who randomly encourages you, the verse that appears on your feed at the exact time you needed it, the sudden peace that settles after you pray, that's confirmation too. You are being guided not by chaos, but by careful design. God doesn't shout over your storms, He aligns the winds to steer your ship. Even the closed doors are confirmations, they say. Not this way. Beloved, I have something better prepared. But remember, this confirmation is not meant to replace faith. It's meant to strengthen it. God will confirm His word, but He won't eliminate the need for trust. You will always have to step before you see. Faith still leads. Confirmation follows. When you feel weary, look back. Count the confirmations. They form a trail of divine fingerprints across your timeline. Each one testifies that heaven has been speaking all along. And when the next sign appears, and it will, you'll know in your heart. This is not random. This is God again. Now, pause and listen. Has something in this message echoed a thought you've had lately, a dream you dreamed, a prayer you whispered when no one was listening? That, too, is confirmation. Heaven is nodding over your life right now. So, if this message bears witness in your spirit, take a prophetic moment. Comment below, "I hear you." Let those 3 words become your agreement with heaven, a declaration that you recognize the signs, that your heart is awake and attentive. When you type it, you're not just responding to text, you're responding to truth. You're telling heaven, "I'm ready to move with you. I trust the process. I trust the pattern. Chosen one. From now on, may your eyes see clearly, your heart discern deeply, and your steps move confidently. For the one who began speaking will not stop until every word over your life is fulfilled." Chosen one. After the confirmations, after the signs and the whispers, there comes a sacred moment that shifts everything, the activation. It is the instant when heaven stops merely speaking to you and begins moving through you. You are no longer waiting for your calling to arrive. Your calling is waiting for you to respond. You've been prepared in secret, refined in fire, stretched through solitude. But now, heaven is opening the door and saying, "Step forward. It's time." And though your hands may tremble, they are ready. The silence, the battles, the breaking, all of it was preparing your spirit for this divine activation moment. Activation is not a feeling, it's a choice. It's the moment when faith stops being theoretical and becomes tangible. When you stop praying only for change and start being the change. It's when you realize that every talent, every pain, every encounter has been training for this moment. You may still feel unqualified. You may think, "Surely, not me." But that's exactly what qualifies you. God doesn't call the flawless, He calls the faithful. Every weakness in you becomes a doorway for His strength. Every insecurity becomes an invitation for His glory. This is your crossing point, the Jordan between what was and what will be. Heaven is ready to move, but it requires your yes. When you move, doors open. When you obey, the atmosphere shifts. When you act in faith, heaven responds with force. Heaven speaks clearly through the words in Deuteronomy, chapter 31, verse 6. "Be strong and courageous, do not fear, for the Lord your God goes with you." That's the foundation of activation courage, anchored in presence. You don't have to see the entire path, you just have to take the first step. The light unfolds as you walk. Every miracle begins with movement. Think of activation as a seed finally breaking through soil. The darkness you've endured wasn't your burial, it was your planting. And now, the roots you grew in silence are ready to push through into light. You are not starting from scratch, you are starting from strength. This season is about partnership. Heaven provides the wind, but you must raise the sail. The Spirit provides the spark, but you must tend the flame. The more you move in obedience, the stronger the current becomes beneath your feet. And as you step out, remember, this activation requires community. You are not meant to carry your fire alone. When you share what God is doing in you, the flame multiplies. The kingdom advances through shared light. If these words are stirring something in you, if they are waking courage or confirming direction, take a moment to give back to the flow that has poured into you. When you like or share this message, you're not just spreading content, you're spreading calling. Every interaction becomes a spark passed to another soul who might be standing on their own edge of obedience. If you've found strength here, consider subscribing, not as an act of habit, but as a way of staying connected to the current that keeps your spirit fueled. Think of it as finding an oasis in a desert, returning whenever your soul feels dry, knowing there will be living water waiting here. And if this space has poured into your life, and you feel led to pour back, to sow a seed into the message that feeds you, then do it as worship, not transaction. Your donation becomes a ripple that travels beyond you, helping these words reach prisons of despair, screens of the brokenhearted, hearts still asleep in darkness. You're not just giving, you're building altars of light across the earth. Imagine it, every small gift, every share, every click, like a lantern placed along a mountain path, guiding someone home. Some of those lanterns may be the reason another weary traveler finds their way back to faith. Chosen one. Activation isn't only about doing more, it's about becoming more. It's about embodying heaven's rhythm in the earth, living so attuned to the divine that even your presence becomes prophecy. From this moment, live like someone who knows heaven is watching. Speak as if your words build bridges between broken hearts. Move as if angels are escorting you into destiny, because they are. You are not stepping into something new, you are stepping into what was always yours. And when you walk in alignment with heaven, even the ground beneath your feet becomes holy. So rise now. Chosen one, lift your head. Let your spirit straighten its crown. This is your activation moment, the moment your calling stops being a dream and becomes your daily reality. Chosen one. Activation is rarely gentle. Once you take the first step into obedience, everything around you begins to shift. Paths appear where none existed before, but so do pressures. You suddenly find yourself standing between faith and fear, between the call and the cost. This is the valley of courage, the place where destiny demands endurance. You've said yes to God, and that yes is now being tested. Doors are opening. Yes, but so are distractions. People begin to project their doubts onto your calling. Opportunities arrive wrapped in confusion, forcing you to discern what is divine and what is deceptive. This is where heaven teaches you that obedience is not a single act, it is a lifestyle. Courage, in this sense, is not the absence of fear, it's faith that moves despite it. Every chosen one must learn to walk through trembling. You may feel uncertain, but heaven is not. You may not know what's next, but heaven already stands at the finish line, calling you forward. You are learning that courage isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the quiet decision to keep showing up, to keep believing when results are invisible, to keep speaking truth even when your voice shakes. Every small act of consistency becomes a declaration of faith. Heaven measures bravery not in volume, but in persistence. The weight of purpose will always demand courage, not the reckless kind that rushes blindly, but the sacred courage that listens, waits, and still obeys. It's what Noah carried when he built an ark under a clear sky. It's what Esther held when she approached the throne, risking everything to save her people. It's what Peter found when he stepped onto the water, eyes fixed on the one calling him forward. You, too, are being called to walk on water. You are being asked to step out of what's safe into what's supernatural, and that step will never feel comfortable. It's meant to make your knees shake, because that's how you learn to rely on His strength and not your own. The Apostle reminds us in his letter to the Corinthians, the second book, chapter 5, verse 7, "For we walk by faith, not by sight." That single sentence holds the essence of courage. You walk by faith not because you see, but because you trust the one who does. Sight shows you facts, faith shows you truth. Sight tells you the mountain is too high. Faith reminds you that the mountain moves when you believe. This walk of courage is not without cost. You'll lose the comfort of certainty. You'll outgrow people who prefer predictability over purpose. Some will question your choices because obedience rarely looks logical. But you must remember, divine instructions don't need public approval. What God spoke to you in private will not always make sense to those who didn't hear it. Every step you take in faith shifts something in the unseen. Courage is contagious in heaven. Angels rally around those who move with conviction. When you advance, heaven advances with you. Every whisper of obedience sends ripples through eternity. Do not let fear disguise itself as wisdom. Sometimes what you call waiting for confirmation is simply hesitation. There comes a moment when the Spirit says, "Move, now." And in that moment, delay becomes disobedience. Courage responds immediately. It doesn't argue with the unknown, it trusts the unseen. But courage also requires rest. You cannot burn without balance. God doesn't want warriors who collapse at the altar of exhaustion. He wants those who know how to fight and how to be still. True courage is knowing when to act and when to anchor. There's power in motion, but there's also power in peace. You will have days when you feel weary, when the vision blurs, and your strength feels spent. In those moments, heaven doesn't ask you to roar, it simply asks you to remain. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stay. Stay faithful. Stay hopeful. Stay grounded. Because endurance is courage in slow motion. Chosen one. Never forget, fear is loud, but faith is lasting. Fear screams for attention, but faith stands quietly and endures. The enemy will try to magnify the risk, but God magnifies the reward. Every step of faith is a seed planted in the soil of obedience, and the harvest is certain. Even if unseen, there will come a day when you'll look back and realize every moment you doubted yourself. Heaven never doubted you. God knew your heart, your limits, your hidden strength. He saw the trembling and called it bravery. So walk on, even if your knees shake. Speak, even if your voice cracks. Trust, even if the path seems uncertain. Because courage isn't proven in comfort, it's revealed in motion. And the moment you move, heaven moves too. Chosen one, you have walked through breaking, through refining, through awakening, and now you are beginning to see something you once only prayed for: divine provision, not the kind that merely sustains, but the kind that overflows. You've learned to trust God in emptiness. And now He's showing you what abundance looks like when it's built on obedience. Provision is not always material. Sometimes it's peace in the storm, wisdom in confusion, or the right person at the right time. Sometimes it's strength you didn't know you had, or favor that opens doors without explanation. You've entered a season where heaven's hand is visible, moving pieces into place, arranging the unseen in your favor. You see, divine provision isn't earned, it's aligned. When you walk in the will of God, Provision follows naturally. The resources of heaven move toward obedience like rivers toward gravity. When your heart is right, the flow is right. When your motives are pure, the miracles multiply. Think of Elijah at the brook of Cherith. The ravens came every morning and every evening with bread and meat. Not because Elijah begged, but because he was in position. When the brook dried up, the word of the Lord redirected him to a widow in Zarephath, where provision waited again. The lesson is timeless. Provision always meets you at the place of purpose. We find in the book of Philippians, chapter 4, verse 19, "And my God will meet all your needs according to the riches of his glory in Christ Jesus." That promise is not poetic, it's prophetic. It reminds you that you are not sustained by economy, employment, or earthly systems. You are sustained by divine supply. The same God who spoke galaxies into being is capable of meeting every need that concerns you. And sometimes, provision arrives disguised as pruning. God will remove certain things not to punish, but to prepare room for greater blessings. You lose one door only to find 3 more opening. You weep over what's gone, not realizing heaven was upgrading your life behind the curtain. Chosen one, you are entering a flow. The drought is ending. The days of scraping by emotionally, spiritually, financially are coming to a close. You've proven faithful in lack. Now, heaven is releasing abundance. But remember, abundance is not given for comfort, but for commission. God blesses you so that you can become a blessing. Divine provision often starts small, like a cloud the size of a man's hand. Don't despise small beginnings. They are seeds of supernatural increase. What you nurture now in faith will multiply later in fullness. The jar of oil didn't overflow in the widow's house until she started pouring. The miracle wasn't in the jar, it was in the motion. So keep pouring, even when it feels like you have little left. Provision also comes through people. Heaven often sends human vessels carrying divine answers. A conversation that shifts perspective. A stranger who offers help. A door that opens through someone you least expected, all of it part of the orchestration. God uses people as pipelines of provision, and he also uses you as one for others. This season, you will begin to notice favor following you like a shadow. Places that once ignored you will now remember you. Opportunities that passed you by will circle back. Even the very people who dismissed you will witness the evidence of grace upon your life. That's what happens when God begins to provide openly what he prepared privately. Don't forget, though provision flows through gratitude, the more you thank, the more heaven trusts you with. Gratitude keeps the flow clear. When you live thankful, you live aware, and awareness is the soil where miracles grow. Chosen one. Divine provision is heaven's love language. It is the Father saying, "I have seen your tears. I have counted your sacrifices, and I will repay you in ways that man cannot." You are not forgotten, you are favored. If this message resonates in your spirit, take this as your sign of confirmation. Comment below 555, a prophetic number of grace and divine release. Let it be your declaration that you are stepping into a season of supernatural supply. When you type it, do so with faith, not superstition. You're not typing digits, you're prophesying direction. You're saying, "Lord, I align with your provision. I open my hands. I trust your timing. And I receive what you've already prepared for me." And as you do, Know this, the same God who multiplied loaves in the hands of Jesus is multiplying resources in your life right now. The same wind that carried manna through the desert is carrying blessings toward you. Heaven's storehouse is not limited, and your obedience has unlocked its gates. So, breathe easy. Chosen one. The struggle is shifting. Provision is coming, not just enough for you, but enough to overflow into others. You are about to become living proof that when God provides, He does it in ways that silence doubt and glorify His name. Chosen one. After the flow of divine provision begins, something remarkable starts to take shape. You begin to see fruit, not just signs, not just whispers, but tangible evidence that everything you've endured has not been in vain. The seeds planted in seasons of silence are finally breaking through the soil. The tears you sowed in pain are emerging as harvests of peace, strength, and influence. You are beginning to recognize the first visible proof that your calling is real. Fruit doesn't appear overnight. It grows quietly, almost imperceptibly, through consistency. For a long time, you may not have noticed anything happening. You prayed, obeyed, forgave, waited, and wondered if it was working. But heaven never forgets a seed. Even when you couldn't see growth, roots were forming beneath the surface. And now, in this season, the invisible is becoming visible. The recognition of fruit is a holy moment. It's when faith meets fulfillment. But it also tests your heart, because when results begin to show, you must remember who made them possible. The temptation after breakthrough is to think, I've finally done it. But you didn't. God did. You watered, yes, but He gave the increase. Gratitude must always be greater than pride, or the fruit will spoil. As Jesus Himself declared in the Gospel of John, chapter 15, verse 5, I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. That verse is the law of lasting impact. Fruitfulness doesn't come from effort alone, it comes from connection. You are not the source, you are the channel. Every result, every victory, every open door flows from remaining attached to the vine. The moment you try to bear fruit apart from Him, you begin to wither. True fruit is not measured by applause or attention, it's measured by transformation. Look closely at your life. There are people who smile differently now because of your presence. There are hearts that healed because of your words. There are prayers being answered through your obedience. You've become a vessel through which heaven touches earth. That's fruit. You'll also begin to notice fruit within yourself. Your patience, once fragile, has deepened. Your discernment has sharpened. You react differently to things that used to upset you. That's spiritual maturity, heaven's proof that growth is taking place even in unseen ways. Fruit-bearing is both a gift and a responsibility. It means you're no longer just receiving revelation, you're producing impact. Others will begin to draw from what you carry, seeking nourishment from your words, your example, your peace. It's a beautiful thing, but it also requires balance. Trees with heavy fruit must have strong roots, or they'll break under their own abundance. The deeper you stay grounded in humility and prayer, the more fruit you can hold without falling. And sometimes, God prunes even in seasons of plenty. That's not rejection, it's refinement. The gardener knows when branches need trimming, so the next harvest can be greater. If He removes something while you're thriving, it's not to punish you, it's to protect your capacity. The fruit that remains after pruning is stronger, sweeter, and more enduring. Chosen one, as you see this fruit appearing, don't rush to display it. Fruit isn't meant to be flaunted, it's meant to feed. What you carry is not for admiration, it's for nourishment. Share your wisdom. Lift others. Pour into those still walking through the wilderness you've survived. That's how fruit multiplies, by being given, not guarded. There will be people who question your transformation, who cannot believe how far you've come. Don't waste time proving anything. Authentic fruit doesn't argue, it speaks for itself. Your life will become the sermon they can't ignore. The living testimony of what happens when a surrendered soul walks with God. In time, your fruit will attract both favor and friction. Some will celebrate your growth, others will envy it. But remember, not everyone who notices your fruit is meant to harvest from it. Discern who's hungry for nourishment and who's only reaching to take what they didn't help cultivate. Protect your peace, but don't withhold your light. The evidence of your calling will grow stronger from here. Every act of obedience adds new branches. Every test passed deepens your roots. You are becoming a living garden, proof that wilderness seasons were never wasted. You will look back and realize that even your most painful pruning was preparation for this beauty. So, walk through this season with quiet gratitude. You don't need to announce your harvest. Heaven already has. You don't need to defend your fruit. Truth will testify for you. Just remain connected to the vine, and your branches will keep producing life wherever you go. Chosen one, you are not who you were a year ago. The evidence of transformation surrounds you, and this is only the beginning. Heaven has planted more within you than you can yet see. The next harvest will make this one look small, because God never stops growing what He has chosen. Chosen one, the fruit of your obedience is visible now. But with every harvest comes a final test, the temptation to retreat. It doesn't come wrapped in rebellion, it comes disguised as exhaustion, as doubt, as the quiet whisper that says, maybe you've done enough, maybe it's time to stop. This is one of the enemy's most subtle strategies. He waits until you're fruitful, until you've made progress, until others begin to notice the light in you, and then he tries to convince you to step back, to silence your fire before it spreads too far. You may feel tired, and that's understandable. The journey has been long, filled with both glory and grief. You've walked through deserts, storms, and nights that seemed endless. The mind begins to crave rest. The heart begins to question, what if I'm not strong enough to keep going? But chosen one, this is not the time to retreat, it's the time to remember. Every trial you faced was training. Every hardship was shaping. Every tear was watering your purpose. You didn't come this far to fade. The same God who carried you through the wilderness will sustain you in the harvest. You are not meant to collapse under the weight of blessing. You are meant to grow stronger beneath it. The prophet Elijah once felt this same weariness. After standing boldly on Mount Carmel and calling down fire from heaven, he ran into the wilderness. Overcome with fear and fatigue, he sat under a tree and prayed for death, convinced his mission was finished. But God met him there not with judgment, but with nourishment. An angel touched him and said, "Get up and eat, for the journey is too much for you." Strength came not through striving, but through surrender. As was spoken in the sacred texts of old, In the book of Galatians, chapter 6, verse 9, let us not grow weary in doing good. For at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Those words are your anchor now. The temptation to retreat is not a sign of failure, it's a sign of arrival. The enemy only tries to stop those who are close to breakthrough. Weariness often comes not before the end, but right before expansion. You're standing at the edge of the next level. And fatigue is the final gatekeeper. So pause. Yes, but don't quit. Rest. But don't retreat. Let yourself breathe. But do not step away from what you were created to carry. There is a difference between holy rest and spiritual resignation. Rest renews, retreat reverses. One heals your strength, the other steals your destiny. In these moments of fatigue, heaven doesn't demand performance, it offers presence. God doesn't ask you to prove your worth, He invites you to remember your source. When you are tired, you are being called to draw nearer, not further away. The power to continue doesn't come from determination, it comes from dwelling. You've come to understand now that destiny is not a sprint, but a lifelong devotion. Even eagles, as majestic as they are, must rest upon the wind to rise higher. They don't fight the air, they flow with it. In the same way, you are learning to lean into grace instead of grinding in fear. Sometimes retreat takes the shape of distraction. You begin to fill your life with noise, activity, even good things that slowly draw your focus from the one thing. Other times, retreat comes as discouragement. You look at what still lies ahead and feel overwhelmed. But remember, chosen one, you are not called to finish by strength but by surrender. When your heart feels heavy, bring it to Him. When your hands feel weak, lift them anyway. The very act of lifting what feels heavy becomes worship in its purest form. Heaven counts that as victory. The greatest proof of faith is not found in never falling, but in rising every single time you do. There will always be moments when the fire flickers. That's not failure, that's humanity. The key is not to let the flame die. Feed it with prayer, with silence, with worship. Protect it from winds of doubt. Even a small ember, when guarded, can ignite a forest. Chosen one, don't mistake fatigue for finality. You are closer than you think. The tension you feel right now is the stretching of new capacity, the widening of your spirit for greater glory. You are being prepared not just to endure, but to expand. And someday, soon, when you look back on this moment, you'll realize this was not your breaking point, it was your birthing point. The temptation to retreat was the labor pain of new strength being born. So breathe, steady your soul, and lift your eyes again. The same God who started this story will write the final chapter. You are not finished, you are fortified. You are not fading, you are being fueled. Keep moving forward, even softly, even slowly, because forward is still forward. Chosen one, the silence is lifting. The storms that once raged have begun to settle. And the horizon of your life glows with something new. This is the unveiling. The season of hiddenness is ending. And heaven is about to bring into view what it has been crafting in secret. For years, God has been writing your name in invisible ink. Now, in His timing, the light of purpose shines upon it, and suddenly the world begins to see what heaven has always known. You were chosen for such a time as this. You have walked through obscurity, misunderstood and underestimated. People saw your pain but not your process, your struggle but not your shaping. They thought silence meant stagnation, but all the while, heaven was preparing a stage for revelation. What was once concealed is about to be revealed. You are stepping into visibility, not for vanity, but for victory, to show others what God can do with a surrendered life. This unveiling is not about fame, it's about function. When God reveals you, He doesn't do it for applause, He does it for assignment. Your voice, your story, your resilience. These are the tools He uses to awaken others still trapped in silence. The unveiling of your purpose becomes the unlocking of theirs. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Habakkuk. Chapter 2, verse 3. For the vision awaits its appointed time, though it tarry. Wait, it will come, not delay. That verse is your mirror now. Every delay you endured was divine preparation for this unveiling moment. God never forgot your name. He never overlooked your efforts. He was simply waiting for the moment when your light could shine without being snuffed out by premature exposure. You are like a sculptor's masterpiece, covered for protection until the final touches are complete. The chisel has been painful, yes, but the beauty that emerges from the stone will silence every doubt. The unveiling is the moment when heaven says, "Now they can see what I've been shaping all along." And as you step into this light, humility must walk beside you. Remember, chosen one, the light that reveals can also burn if mishandled. Stay low. Stay grounded. Glory is safest in the hands of the grateful. Every platform, every open door, every opportunity is a place to reflect His goodness, not your greatness. But let's be honest, unveiling can feel uncomfortable. After hiding so long, exposure feels raw. The same people who ignored you will now have opinions about you. Some will celebrate, others will criticize. But don't shrink back. You didn't come this far to apologize for God's grace. The unveiling isn't about pleasing the crowd, it's about fulfilling the call. Think of a sunrise. The world doesn't ask for permission before it shines, it simply obeys its nature. In the same way, you don't need approval to step into your light. You've been appointed, not appointed by man, but anointed by God. And as your light expands, your reach will, too. The messages, the moments, the words you share, each becomes a spark that ignites another life. That's how revival begins, one awakened soul illuminating another. So, if this word touches you, if it reminds you that your own unveiling is near, let this moment become a living act of gratitude. When you like, share, or comment, you aren't just reacting, you're releasing. Each gesture becomes a ripple that carries this light farther, reaching souls you may never meet, but who need this exact reminder. If you've found refuge in these words, consider subscribing, not out of routine, but as a way of staying tethered to this flow of truth. Think of it as drawing near to a fire that keeps your spirit warm in cold seasons. And if your heart feels stirred to give, to sow into what God is doing through this message, know that your generosity becomes the oil that keeps the lamps burning. Every donation, no matter the size, becomes part of heaven's network of light. You are not paying for words, you are partnering in purpose. Together, we keep the flame alive for others still walking in darkness. Imagine this message like a bridge stretching over a deep river. Every act of support lays another plank, making it easier for someone else to cross. Some will never know your name, but they'll walk safely because you gave, because you shared, because you stayed connected. Chosen one, your unveiling is not a finish line, it's a beginning. You are the evidence that waiting is never wasted. God's timing has ripened, and now the fruit of your patience is ready to be tasted by the world. So step forward, gently but boldly. Speak the words He gives you. Move in the rhythm He's taught you. This is your season to shine, not for self, but for souls. The stage is set, the light is rising, and heaven is whispering. Now, let them see, and as you rise, leave a mark here, your comment, your voice, your echo in this divine conversation. Let the world know you were here when heaven unveiled another chosen one. Chosen one. Every unveiling carries a moment of transition. What comes after visibility is responsibility. You have stepped into light, and now the mantle you once carried quietly begins to burn brighter upon your shoulders. This is the stage of the mantle transfer, the sacred exchange, where heaven entrusts you with full authority over what you were once merely training to steward. You've waited, watched, and learned. You've walked beside the flame long enough to understand its cost. Now, that same fire is placed in your hands. The mantle that once belonged to those who came before you, the prophets, the pioneers, the faithful, now rests upon you. It is a continuation of divine legacy, the unbroken chain of obedience stretching across generations. The transfer is not theatrical, it's internal. It happens not with trumpets, but with tears. It is not about titles, but about trust. When heaven hands you a mantle, it is saying, you have proven that your heart can carry what your hands could not yet hold. This moment, though glorious, is weighty. Every mantle carries memory, the prayers of those who paved the way, the sacrifices of those who obeyed when it cost them everything. You inherit not just their power, but their purity, their perseverance, their purpose. You are stepping into a lineage of light. It was proclaimed in the second book of Kings, chapter 2, verse 9. Tell me what I can do before I am taken from you. Elisha said, let me receive double spirit. If used stealthing. Elisha's request wasn't greed, it was readiness. He understood that to continue the mission, he needed more than skill. He needed spirit. And you, too, stand in that place now. You are asking heaven not for status, but for strength, not for fame, but for faithfulness. The mantle you carry is not measured in visibility, but in virtue. When the transfer happens, it doesn't only elevate you, it multiplies you. Everything you touch begins to bear the mark of divine presence. Your words carry weight beyond their sound. Your prayers begin to pierce atmospheres. Your footsteps leave imprints of glory. You are no longer merely walking with purpose. You are walking as purpose. But every mantle comes with a shadow of testing. When Elisha received his, the first thing he faced was separation, the chariot of fire taking away his mentor. He tore his clothes in grief. But then he picked up the fallen cloak. That act of reaching down symbolized acceptance. You cannot carry what you will not pick up in your life. 2. The transfer may come through moments of loss, a door closing, a relationship ending, a chapter concluding. These are not endings, they are exchanges. Something leaves your hands so something greater can rest in them. The transfer always follows a tearing. You might feel both honored and hesitant, ready, yet overwhelmed. That's normal. The presence of trembling does not mean you're unprepared. It means you understand the magnitude of what's been entrusted to you. Heaven never gives power to those who don't feel its weight. From this point forward, your life becomes less about arrival and more about alignment. Every decision must now pass through the filter of purpose. The mantle refines your priorities. It simplifies your yes and strengthens your no. You no longer move out of convenience, but out of conviction. The mantle also attracts opposition, because authority always draws attention. Yet, even that is confirmation. The greater the resistance, the greater the release. You are carrying something the enemy cannot counterfeit. You are clothed in spiritual armor that glows unseen, but its presence commands respect in the unseen realm. Chosen one, this is not the time to shrink back or second guess. You have been found faithful in obscurity. Now heaven trusts you in influence. Carry this mantle with the same humility you carried your pain. The authority you bear is not for control, it's for compassion. Not to rule, but to restore. Remember, mantles are not heirlooms to be admired, they are tools to be used. Every time you speak life, extend mercy, or stand for truth, the mantle works through you. It becomes the touch of heaven on earth, reaching through your obedience to heal what's broken. And though you now carry what others once carried, this mantle will take on your fragrance too. God does not replicate. He reveals himself uniquely through every vessel. Your voice, your story, your expression of faith will add a new color to heaven's canvas. So walk forward, clothed in quiet confidence. Let the mantle fall across your shoulders like light across dawn, soft, yet unstoppable. This is your inheritance, your empowerment, your moment of divine continuation. The torch has been placed in your hands, and heaven watches as you raise it high. The world may not yet understand what you've received, but soon they will see it through every act of love, every word of truth. Every moment you choose obedience over ease. You are no longer just called, you are commissioned, chosen one. Now that the mantle rests upon you, something deep within begins to settle. The striving quiets, the uncertainty fades, and what remains is clarity, a sacred awareness that every moment of your journey was leading here. You finally see that nothing was wasted. Every season, every scar, every silence was divine design, preparing you for this final revelation. Your obedience was never just about you. It was about legacy. The path of the chosen is not a circle, it is a continuation. The work God begins in one life often completes its purpose through another. You are not only walking in your calling, you are walking in someone's answered prayer. Generations before you cried out for what you are now carrying. You are the fruit of faith sown by hands you've never seen and voices long silent. The baton has passed to you, and your obedience will decide who receives it next. This is the eternal echo, the reverberation of your faith across time. Every act of surrender, every choice to forgive, every word spoken in truth ripples outward into the unseen, shaping destinies you'll never meet. Heaven measures obedience not by immediacy, but by eternity. The impact of a single life aligned with God can change the trajectory of nations. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 16, "Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. Your light is not a momentary spark, it is an eternal torch. It carries the reflection of every fire that came before you, the prophets, the saints, the warriors of faith who kept believing even when the world grew dark. Now their echo lives through you, and your echo will live through others. The world around you is starving for meaning, aching for light. You are the answer to that hunger, not because of who you are, but because of who burns within you. Every space you enter shifts when you arrive because the Spirit walks in with you. You may not always see the impact, but heaven does. When you forgive, heaven records it. When you speak life, heaven amplifies it. When you endure in faith, heaven multiplies it. Legacy is not about fame or memory, it's about imprint. It's the unseen fingerprints you leave on souls, the quiet influence that continues long after your voice falls silent. You were chosen not to gather attention, but to create continuation. God moves through generations like waves through the sea, each one rising from the strength of the one before. And this, chosen one, is the moment when your story becomes more than survival. It becomes inheritance. You are no longer just living out your calling, you are leaving it behind for others to build upon. Somewhere, a child will rise stronger because you did not give up. Somewhere, a broken heart will heal because you chose forgiveness over bitterness. Somewhere, a weary soul will believe again because your endurance whispered, "It's possible." The echo of obedience is endless. It travels through the corridors of time, striking hearts you'll never see and lives you'll never know. That is the beauty of divine purpose. It multiplies itself. The blessing that began in Abraham still flows today because he said yes. The redemption birthed in Christ continues because he endured. And now, the light carried by countless generations rests in your hands. This is not a burden, but an honor, to know that your life matters beyond your lifetime, that your faith will outlive your flesh, that your obedience will become someone else's breakthrough. This is the mystery and majesty of being chosen. There will come a day, long after your steps have faded from the earth, when someone will stand stronger because of the foundation you laid. They won't know your name, but they'll feel your echo. They'll sense the residue of your faith, the warmth of your prayers, the stability of your sacrifice. Heaven sees time differently. What feels like an ending to you is a beginning to someone else. Death cannot silence legacy, it amplifies it. The sound of a life surrendered to God grows louder, not quieter, as it moves through generations. Chosen one, stand tall in this truth. Your story will not end with you. You are part of an unbroken chain of glory, a divine continuum of light. The echo of your yes will travel farther than you could ever imagine. So live with eternity in mind. Love with eternity in heart. Every act of kindness, every whispered prayer, every moment of faith adds another layer to your eternal legacy. When the final chapter of your journey is written, heaven will not measure your worth by what you achieved, but by what you passed on, the faith you preserved, the truth you carried, the love you lived. And in that moment, when your spirit finally stands before the one who called you, you will hear the words every chosen longs to hear, "Well done, good and faithful servant." Then the echo of your obedience will join the eternal symphony of all who came before the great cloud of witnesses whose lives still sing across eternity. Chosen one, You have walked through the fire and the silence, the breaking and the blessing. You've seen how heaven shapes, refines, awakens, and sends. Now, as this journey draws to its close, take a breath and look back, not with regret, but with reverence. Every step was sacred. Every storm was strategy. You are no longer the same person who began this path. You have become the proof that purpose is stronger than pain. This is not goodbye, it's commissioning. What has been spoken here was never meant to stay on a page. It was meant to live through you. Let the words become movement. Let the truth become transformation. You are not leaving this message behind. You are carrying it into every room you enter. If these words have stirred something within you, if they have comforted, confirmed, or called you higher, then don't let them fade into silence. When you like, share, or comment, you aren't just supporting a message, you are joining a mission. You become a living echo of light, helping another weary heart find its way home. Take a moment, leave your mark here. Write something from your spirit. Let heaven see your agreement. Your comment might be the confirmation someone else has been praying for. And if you haven't yet, subscribe not out of habit, but out of hunger. Stay connected to this stream of divine encouragement, where each word is written to awaken, heal, and strengthen you. Together, we are not just a community, we are a constellation, individual lights forming one radiant sky. And every time you share or support, another light joins the pattern. Carry this flame forward. Chosen one, shine it boldly. The world needs what heaven placed within you.